Welcome to the big word with Ngullie, ladies and gentlemen. It is perhaps never in history has the aspect of self-importance, arrogance and vanity been in focus as it has been experienced in the 21st century. From the United States to the smallest hamlets in India, this age of social media and user-centric technology seems to have normalized self-promotion and personal aggrandizement in public. This is particularly so of most young people today. What is the role of narcissism in an age where even the human body is no longer off limits to public eyes? Why is narcissism classified as a mental disorder? With us in the studio today is Apong Walling. Ms. Walling is a mental health counselor currently with Lenjem Hospital in Moshong. We'll be exploring some of the often under-discussed aspects of modern youth mental personalities. Welcome to our show again.
Hello. Thank you so much. It's an honor.
Hey, we're glad that you are here. You have traveled all the way from Moshong, and I think it has been a very challenging time for you.
Yes, exactly.
Right? How are you feeling right now?
Very well.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's good to have you here. Initially, when we started discussing topics, what to have on my shows, one of the first suggestions were that we should do a little more youth-centric show. So we were looking for youth-centric topics, and when we talk of youth, we only think of music, maybe fashion, clothes, but not necessarily anything that was serious enough to be discussed in that sense. But then someone suggested, why not let's do a topic on someone said egos, okay?
Oh.
Egos of modern youth today. And that's how this show came about. We wanted to focus more on the aspect of personal aggrandizement, personal promotion, and of course which translates into narcissism. So that's how we came about with this topic. So tell us, like, how long have you been with Lenjem? You joined recently, right?
Yes, I joined recently. I joined only on December.
December. Yes. And so far, how is work there? How do you like it?
Yes, of course, I like it. I actually don't get a lot of clients, not like everyday basis, but yes, so I do have clients.
I see. So normally, like, I know that there are certain aspects of your work you would tell us about clients, for example, but normally what do you deal with, like counseling, depressive behaviors for?
Yes, I do counseling. I give counseling. Yes, many people come with anxiety or they're depressed, or with substance abuse.
Substance abuse. Oh wow. Okay. So getting back to the topic here, I just why don't you? I think you're the best person to tell us about this. We've been talking about narcissism for a long time now, and even earlier too we talked about it. Tell us, like, what defines narcissism? What are the qualities that make someone narcissistic? What defines narcissism?
Narcissism is an excessive interest in or admiration of oneself. To varying degrees, narcissists think they are better looking, smarter, more competent. They lack empathy towards other people, and they're very controlling.
Okay, so are there different kinds of, like, narcissistic personalities, different kinds, or is it just one narcissistic personality defines everything?
Yes, there are two types. One is grandiose narcissism.
I see.
They are characterized by dominance and attention seeking, and the other one is vulnerable narcissism. They are reserved. They have the sense of entitlement, but they're easily threatened.
I see. Just something off the questions here. The sense of entitlement, right? Like, even if something doesn't belong to you, you think it belongs to you. Is it very common in all these personality types? Is it very common or not common?
Not exactly.
Not exactly. But I think all of us are entitled in some way.
Yes, of course,
all of us,
yes.
yeah. So, okay, what is the? I think in psychology and even counseling studies, I think there are parameters, cluster groups, right?
Yes.
So first explain to me what does cluster mean in psychology, and then we'll get back to narcissism again. Cluster types.
Okay. There are 10 types of personality grouped into 3 clusters.
Okay.
So narcissism is cluster B.
Okay.
Dramatic and erratic types.
Okay.
So they are grouped into clusters based on similarities and characteristics.
I see. So basically, it's like having different species of animals, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You typify them. So what cluster type does narcissism, especially in the context of youth, what type of cluster that this group fall in?
Yes, it's cluster B.
Cluster B.
Cluster B.
Yeah, what
Dramatic and erratic types.
Dramatic and erratic. Okay. So I think when you say dramatic, Aping, like dramatic and erratic, are we talking about, no offense, young people? Or
yes, exactly, yes.
Or do you think that if an adult person, let's say who is 50, 60 years old, if he has a narcissistic personality, will he be erratic? Or is it just for young people generally?
Normally, after 18 years of age, we can diagnose a person with narcissistic personality disorder.
Okay.
But until 18 years of age, we cannot diagnose. So we cannot say that a person have a narcissistic personality disorder until they are 18 years of age.
Wow. So how do we know that someone needs counseling? This person is very narcissistic, is erratic and dramatic. So for us, like maybe we can point it out, but what about the person? Will that person know that, oh, hey, I need counseling because I'm very narcissistic? No, will he know that?
There are many traits evident based on narcissistic personality disorder. One thing we need to understand is that they will never accept it.
Yeah.
The absence of insight there is absence of insight. They don't come forward for treatment, or they don't realize that they have a problem. So it's really hard for us to treat a narcissistic person.
Okay, so practically if that person doesn't recognize that he's being toxic to everyone, what about, let's say, family members? Like, do you think they will be able to recognize that this is wrong and this person needs intervention? So how do we know who needs it? Because like you said earlier, there are people who are introverted. They're not really dramatic outside, but inside they have this feeling. So they are self-absorbed, self-centric. So how do we know that they need counseling?
Okay, firstly, we do not diagnose a person with narcissistic personality disorder until they are 18 years of age.
Okay.
That is when personality crystallizes. It is still forming or developing. So only after 18 years of age we can say that a person's personality has set.
Okay.
After it crystallizes, the basic personality traits become standardized in a person. So, for instance, a person will have a higher amount of impulsivity or a higher amount of aggressiveness. And if these changes in a person last for a long time and have a substantial impact on a young person's life, then it's time for them to seek professional help.
Okay. So I think, considering our discussions, I think it is already very clear that people who have these personality types can be difficult, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, very difficult, and they don't know. So which makes life miserable for people around them. And you talk about crystallization of their qualities, traits, and they become standardized at a certain age. So, I mean, are there any, besides their qualities inside, are there any visible manifestation? For example, the way they talk, the way they treat people in society, the way they treat their family and friends and pets. What are the visible, observable manifestation or qualities of these kind of personalities? What are the manifestations?
Superiority is one of the main indications. Narcissistic, they have the tendency to be the best, always right, more competent,
Yes.
and they're very controlling. Interestingly, they also get a superiority feeling by being the worst or wrong or being injured or being most injured. They lack empathy towards other people. They have a sense of entitlement.
Besides that, I think we have talked about this earlier also. It's basically the way they treat people, right? It's not the way, is it the way they treat themselves or the way they treat people? People who have this type of personality disorders.
It's like a disease where where the sufferer feels good, but people around them suffers.
Okay, so what causes this Apong? Like, it is classified in psychology. Narcissism, it's classified as a mental health disorder actually. So just like any disease, like what causes all this? What is the reason behind all this? What causes this disorder?
Genetics could be one reason.
I say.
Genetic component plays an important role. If one of your parents had narcissistic personality disorder, then you're likely to develop that disorder. But environment matters as well. Parents who put their child on a pedestal can foster narcissistic can foster grandiose narcissism, and cold, controlling parents can contribute to vulnerable narcissism. And narcissism also seems to be higher in cultures that promote individualist and self-promotion. Most recently, social media has increased the possibilities of self-promotion. And many narcissists use this as a platform to seek social status and attention.
What about, I just want to know, why is NPD classified as a mental health condition in psychology? Because this is something not many people agree or consider it illness. Why is it? What was the reason that it was classified as a disease?
We all strive to be the best. We pursue power and attention for positive reasons, like to reach our full potential. But narcissistic individuals, they seek power for the status and attention that goes with it. And it is considered as a serious condition or a mental health disorder because it is a maladaptive pattern of behavior that is consistently causing troubles in the personal, social, and occupational factors.
Okay, just again one thing to that question again. We humans are not perfect. We are all flawed, right? I think you have flaws to imperfection. I have flaws in imperfection. But when we talk of narcissism again, what makes it so special? Is it? I mean, are there any normal emotional conditions that is classified differently as a mental health disorder? We are all flawed, so why only narcissism?
Yes, as I mentioned earlier, it is a maladaptive pattern of behavior. And when I say maladaptive pattern of behavior, it means that the person is unable to adapt to the situation or is unable to adapt to the environment. Their behavior is causing a lot of trouble to themselves and to others, and it is causing a lot of distress.
To that person and?
To them and even to others.
Others around them, especially family members and friends?
Yes.
And maybe even Facebook friends also,
Yeah,
you
exactly.
know? Yeah, so I've been reading about this, and you're the expert in here. Psychotherapy. Psychotherapy and talk counseling seems to be the only treatments right now. So, like, could you, like, how does it work? Like psychotherapy and counseling, how does it work to treat this condition?
Yes, it is effective. Psychotherapy helps people become aware of the narcissistic tendency and how they impact others. It helps people better manage their thoughts and feelings and start changing the way they react to themselves.
So the idea is behavioral change. Like, do you use any medications? I mean, like...
Yes, it's not just behavioral change, but even their thoughts and feelings.
Okay.
Yes, medications should be prescribed if required, for symptoms like anxiety, depression, or mood that have developed as a result of narcissism.
Okay, so it's not just about talking to each other, having talk sessions, drawing out the contents of our minds and our heart out of each other. You also actually use medications?
No, we are not supposed to prescribe medicines.
Oh, only psychiatry?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. I thought it was only psychotherapy.
No.
Talk counseling. Okay. Now it sounds really serious now that you've mentioned medicine. So what are the treatment principles, like what are the methods in treating people who have narcissistic personality disorders? What are the methods?
Most narcissistic will find this very challenging, but willingness to change is half the battle with a narcissistic personality disorder. A person who sees no need for change will not put any effort.
Yeah.
So strong motivation or willingness to change is vital, along with long-term counseling and psychotherapy to gain better insight, and medications, as I've mentioned earlier, medications if required for symptoms like anxiety, depression, or mood.
Oh, okay. So you mentioned that besides, I'll just get back to the first question again. Medications, right?
Yes.
And then it makes life hell for people around them. So when you use both medication and counseling, does it mean it is more effective, or only counseling will do, or only medication will do?
Depends on the person, or depends on the severity of the issues.
Okay. So if the person is very narcissistic and making life miserable for everyone, I think medication will do. Maybe not a joke, but on Facebook, I think we know a lot of people.
The thing is, all people with narcissistic personality disorder are narcissistic, but not all narcissistic may have narcissistic personality disorder.
Oh, okay. Do you take selfies, Apong?
Of course I do.
Yeah. I think I've taken only one or two selfies. I'm not saying I'm not narcissistic, but I'm just saying I think I took maybe 2 or 3 selfies. That was like 3,000 years ago. So I've never ever tried it, but maybe we'll take selfies one day so that we'll tell the people we're not perfect. Yeah, so how does living with someone who has this mental disorder, or is it a mental or emotional disorder? Narcissistic personalities, is it mental?
Yes, it is a mental disorder.
Not necessarily emotional like depression, right?
So mental, when you say mental, it is the well-being of 3 components, that is behavior, emotion, and cognition. Yes.
Oh, okay, I think that's clear for me. Yeah, so how does living with someone who has a narcissistic personality disorder, how does it affect the quality of others? In what way? We all know that, let's say if you're very narcissistic, very controlling, very dominant, I'm going to get angry, or you're going to disturb my peace. I know that. But how does qualitatively it affect others?
Living with a narcissistic person is very difficult and challenging, but it's possible. But it's possible by educating oneself about the disorder. Staying with them is like a disease where the sufferer feels good, but it affects people around them. So one should set strong boundaries. They should build good support network and a therapist who is informed on narcissism.
Oh, okay. So, do you think modern youths are more narcissistic than the generation before them? Do you think modern youths, especially I'm saying modern youths because in our time there was no concept of social media, no selfies, there was no platform that offered me a chance to be me, look at me, we didn't have that. So I'm just curious, what do you think? What is your opinion? Do you think modern youths are more narcissistic?
Today's young adults are more entitled, harder to manage. They're obsessed with gadgets and appearance. They have higher increase of responsibilities and expectations and exploration of identity. and the pressure to achieve perfection is intense. So many young adults use narcissism as an adaptive thing to work on self-image and identity. So many young youths could be described as narcissistic more than ever before.
Oh, yeah, I know. We shouldn't be really making things light of this, but it is true. I think I have been reading up on this, and I think there are research that says that modern youths are a little more self-absorbed. They're a little more attention-seeking. So I think there is a collective sense among themselves that they are entitled to certain things in life, such as attention, or maybe they think they're very good looking or very rich or talented. Yeah. So Acha, we are having a wonderful conversation, and I think we're getting to the end of our conversation here. But I'm just curious, like we talked about earlier, narcissism, these are things that we cannot just spot in people. If I was very narcissistic and I was standing in front of that person might not know my qualities. So I think the same with counselors, right? Like you cannot just point it out that this is a very narcissistic person. So again, like what are the procedures or the methods that you use to draw it out, to diagnose it?
There are some basic criteria. Firstly, it should be a maladaptive pattern or behavior.
It should be?
Yes,
okay.
It should be a maladaptive pattern or behavior that is causing troubles to their personal, occupational and social life with subjective distress. And one should be at least 18 years of age, or we cannot diagnose a person with narcissistic personality disorder until they are 18 years of age. And the criteria should meet from DSM-5, Diagnostic Statistical Manual, and or ICD-10, International Classification of Disorders. These are standard mental disorders used by mental health professionals. When I say maladaptive pattern or behavior, it means that the person is unable to adapt to the situations or environment. Their behavior is causing a lot of trouble to themselves and others, and distress to themselves and others.
So have you so far working with Langium, right? Langium Hospital, have you ever come across any kind of cases that relate to narcissistic personality disorders? Have you?
No.
So far, no.
Yes.
Normally, what is your area there? Like, what kind of personality types or issues that you deal with generally?
Yes, anyone who suffers from mental health problems or mental health issues. Yes.
I see. Like we talked about the class of disorder. So how many classes of disorder, mental health disorders are there? How many classes are there? Generally anything, narcissistic and anything?
There are a lot. And yes, there are a lot of disorders. And personality is one, like and narcissism, it falls under personality disorder, yes. And even personality, there are 10. So 10 types. So there are a lot of mental health disorders.
10? How many is that? That's a lot. And narcissism is just one of them, right?
Yes.
Just for the knowledge of our viewers, like what are the other types? Not narcissism, but other types of mental health disorders. I'm just curious.
OCD could be one, obsessive compulsive disorder, anxiety disorders.
Okay, so what about people who are depressed?
Yes, it is also considered as a mental health disorder. Yes. Depression.
People who are depressed. Just one thing, I think I read somewhere that if you are very narcissistic, you have a higher chance of being depressed.
Yes.
Is it true?
Yes, exactly, yes.
Okay. So no wonder that is why it's called a mental health disorder. That was a wonderful conversation, and I think we have learned a lot, even especially hopefully if our viewers are very young. I think they'll be very careful now, after what they have heard you speak. Yeah, thank you so much for coming to our show, Aping. That was a very, very educative conversation that we have had. But like I said before, we will be having more conversations of this kind, and we will be needing your inputs too.
All right.
Thank you so much, Aping. Thank you. Nakshipong Lawaling did her master's in psychology from Nagaland University and postgraduate diploma in mental health from MS Chelamuthu Institute of Mental Health and Rehabilitation in Tamil Nadu. Personality topics such as conceit or narcissism are complex. It is a fact that people change with age and time, but it is also a fact that some might not. Maybe we need to rethink our selfies. I'm Ngullie. See you next time.